Don't let your practice become a word game. Hello everyone and welcome. You are listening to the Shurangama Sutra Special Podcast Series, brought to you by the Australia Buddha Walk Association. Today, we are discussing a passage that is arguably the most brilliant and most gut-wrenching scene in the entire Shurangama Sutra. In the previous assembly, the Buddha shared profound teachings regarding the madness of Yajnadatta. Yet, at this very moment, Venerable Ananda, famed for being foremost in learning, still hasn't fully grasped the ultimate meaning. He even brings up arguments that sound like the theories of non-Buddhist schools. To truly wake Ananda up, the Buddha switches to hardcore mode, eventually dragging up the one embarrassing past event Ananda most wanted to hide. What exactly happened? Where was Ananda's attachment? Let's return to the scene of the assembly and dive into today's theme. Don't let your practice become a word game. Part E, Ananda's grievance. Let's reconstruct the scene. Venerable Ananda stands up among the crowd and bows at the Buddha's feet. But in his heart, he's feeling a bit defiant. He asks, "Wilt, Honored One, you just said that if we sever the three conditions of killing, stealing, and lust, the causes of reincarnation will not arise. You said that when the madness of the inner Yajnadatta, that madman who thought he lost his head, settles down, that is Bodhi, and it doesn't require seeking from others. That sounds logical. But isn't that just the law of causes and conditions? Only when there is a cause and a condition can the result be extinguished. So why do you suddenly negate causality and call this non-causality?" Ananda even brings in some big names to back him up. He says, "It's not just a youngster like me. The great Moggallana, Shariputra, and Subhuti all attained enlightenment by listening to your teachings on causes and conditions. If you now say Bodhi isn't gained through causality, wouldn't the naturalists in Rajagriha be right?" This is a classic case of attachment to labels. Ananda feels that since the Buddha taught causality before, he shouldn't change the script now. He's terrified the Buddha might be accidentally preaching heresy. Part 2, Who gave Yajnadatta his head? Facing Ananda's doubt, the Buddha brings back the classic case of Yajnadatta. He says, "Ananda, let's look at this story again. You say when madness ceases, the non-mad nature emerges. But think carefully, Yajnadatta's head was always on his shoulders. That is its natural state. He never actually lost it. Since he never lost it, what causal or condition made him suddenly go insane and run through the streets looking for it?" The Buddha then sets a logical trap. If his head went mad because of causes and conditions, why didn't it disappear because of natural causes? His head was never gone. The madness and fear were purely illusory. His self-nature never changed. Since it never changed, why would you need causes and conditions to restore it? In other words, your self-nature is identical to the Buddha's. You are already a Buddha. Your head has always been there. If you insist on finding a cause for returning to normal, you are admitting that you actually lost your head in the first place. But the truth is, you just had a fever dream. All the logic causality within that dream becomes utter nonsense the moment you wake up. Part 3, Causality and nature are both idle theories. The Buddha's next words are heavy. He tells Ananda that once you realize your original head was never lost and the madness was just a misunderstanding, then discussing whether it was causality or nature is nothing but prapanka, idle theories, meaningless chatter, or a cosmic joke. The Buddha explains, "When I said severing the three conditions is Bodhi, I only said it to break your attachments. These three conditions are just your discriminatory mind regarding the world, karma, and sentient beings. But I worry you'll misunderstand and think Bodhi is something produced. If Bodhi is produced, it can be destroyed. True Bodhi is unproduced and undying. It is the way of non-effort. You don't need to deliberately cultivate something into existence." Part 4, The Fatal Blow. Even Matanji's daughter has attained the fruit. What about you? After the theory, the Buddha moves to a stinging topic. This is likely Ananda's most awkward moment in the entire sutra. The Buddha says bluntly, "Ananda, understanding this undying true nature is still a long way off for you. You can't reach it instantly. And it isn't something you can simply possess through eons of intellectual study. Although your memory is unsurpassed and you can recite the 12 divisions of the sutras by heart, to be honest, all this does is increase your idle theories and give you more capital to argue with people. Then, the Buddha brings up the incident that makes Ananda wince, the ordeal with Matanji's daughter. Ananda, you claim to have mastered the theories of causality and nature. The whole world praises you as foremost in learning. But what happened? All that knowledge you accumulated over eons was useless against the temptation of Matanji's daughter. In the end, didn't you have to rely on me to save you with a mantra? The Buddha continues, look at Matanji's daughter. She was a courtesan. But once she heard the divine mantra, her lustful heart vanished, and she directly attained the fruit of anagami. Now she practices diligently among us. Her desires dried up. It was because her river of love dried up that you were liberated. And you are still wandering out there. In plain terms, you know all the theories. But you almost folded the moment a beautiful woman appeared. That girl didn't memorize as much as you, but she let go of attachment and attained the fruit instantly. Your vast library of knowledge is just self-deception. Part 5. Better one day of non-noun flow, practice. Finally, the Buddha concludes earnestly. Ananda, memorizing the secret and profound sutras for eons is truly not as good as one day of practicing non-noun flow and asrava. Karma. What is non flow? It means staying far away from the world's hatred and craving. These two mental states are the root of all suffering. The Buddha mentions his former wife, Yajnadatta, like Matanji's daughter. She realized she had been tortured by craving for lifetimes. They turned their hearts to cultivate the non-noun flow dharma, and now they have broken free from the cage. Ananda, even these women have awakened. Why are you still deceiving yourself? Are you still lingering in the cleverness of listening to sutras and watching the show? Are you still making excuses to just get by? Conclusion and inspiration for us. Listeners, does this passage make you feel a chill down your spine? In our daily life reading books, listening to podcasts, are we like Ananda, accumulating a belly full of definitions and feeling like we understand? But in real life, when anger strikes, when temptation appears, or when our interests are threatened, can we actually use the Dharma in our heads? The Buddha tells us, stop spinning in circles around labels. Practice is not an academic pursuit. A good memory doesn't equal good cultivation. Being a smooth talker doesn't mean realization. What matters is the actual taming of the craving heart when facing afflictions. Stop being stuck in hearing and observing. Stop being the foremost in learning, who refuses to change. Once Yajnadatta's mad mind rests, that is Bodhi. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Shirangama Sublime Dharma, shared by the Australia Buddha Walk Association. We'll see you next time.